There comes a moment, quiet, subtle, often disguised as ordinary, when a question pierces the haze of habit. What if I'm more powerful than I've been led to believe? This is not the kind of power that dominates or conquers, but the kind that whispers with unshakable certainty, you are the author. Not the victim, not the passive observer, not the sum of your wounds, but the writer, the energy behind the pen. And yet, most of us are raised inside an invisible system that tells us otherwise. From the earliest moments of awareness, we are told who we are. Be realistic, they say. You can't always get what you want. Life's tough, deal with it. These are not just phrases, they are downloads, invisible scripts wired into our operating system. Scripts that say you must strive, you must obey, you must wait for permission. Slowly, you forget the original truth, that you came here with access to a field of pure potential, that your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are not background noise, they are creative forces, rippling outward. We inherit more than just eye color and surnames. We inherit limitation, generational beliefs, cultural ceilings, subtle shame wrapped in duty. You were told to work hard, to earn happiness, but no one told you that your energy, your frequency, is what actually shapes your experience. So here you are, maybe successful by external standards, yet still feeling that quiet ache. Is this all there is? The ache is a clue. It's a signal from the part of you that remembers, not intellectually, but vibrationally. The part of you still tuned to the infinite. The part that knows reality is not something that happens to you. It's something that responds to you. And more often than not, it responds to what you believe you deserve. Where in your life are you still chasing something you secretly think you're unworthy of? This world is not objective in the way we once imagined. It's interpretive, malleable. It bends not to force, but to frequency, and that frequency begins with your state of being. But if your beliefs say, I'm not good enough, or life is a struggle, then even your best efforts get filtered through distortion. You manifest, yes, but not what you want. You manifest what you are. That's a hard truth at first, because it feels like blame. But it's not blame, it's invitation. You're not being punished, you're being awakened. This moment, this life, is your workshop. And every setback, every delay is a mirror asking, what are you transmitting? If you keep trying to change the outer without addressing the inner, you will always return to the same cycle. It's like rearranging furniture in a dream. You wake up, and the house hasn't changed. But when you shift the dreamer, the dream itself morphs. So what would it mean to reclaim your mind, not just as a tool of survival, but as a sacred interface with reality itself? The truth is both unsettling and electrifying. You were never powerless. You were just unplugged, operating on default settings. The version of you that believes you're realistic is usually the version that's quietly afraid to hope again. Because hope got you hurt. Hope got you mocked. And so, you've kept your desires quiet, even from yourself. But now you're starting to hear the hum of something deeper. A remembering that energy is not created in the effort alone. It's sculpted in intention, trust, and coherence. You don't have to force reality to comply. You align with it. You invite it. That's the essence of quantum thinking. It begins where the old stories end. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about understanding that even your most ordinary thoughts are like seeds being planted in a responsive, living field. And that field is listening not to what you say, but to what you believe. So pause here, breathe, look around. Everything you see began first in someone's mind. Every invention, every movement, every life-changing moment, it all started as an idea. Yours can too. But first, you must be willing to question the foundation, to stop assuming the ground you stand on is made of stone, and begin seeing it for what it truly is. Energy in motion, responding to you. If nothing was fixed, if your life was more like a song than a structure, what melody would you begin to hum? Quantum thinking begins where linear thinking ends. For most of us, reality has been a straight line, Cause leads to effect, action leads to result. We're taught that if you want something, you must push, grind, compete, sacrifice. The mind becomes a taskmaster, obsessed with how. But quantum thought, it doesn't ask how first, it asks who are you being. Here's a quiet truth most miss. Your thoughts are not trapped inside your skull. They don't simply bounce around in your head like marbles in a jar. Every thought carries a frequency, an energy signature. And that energy is not neutral. It interacts, it moves outward into a vast invisible field, the quantum field, a sea of possibilities waiting to be shaped by consciousness. You felt this, even if you didn't have the words. Have you ever walked into a room and sensed the tension before anyone spoke? Or felt someone's joy like sunlight warming the space without a word? That's not imagination, that's resonance, and resonance is real. In quantum terms, reality exists as infinite potential until it is observed, not by sight, but by awareness. The observer effect is not some abstract theory, it's a mirror of your life. When you place your attention on something with emotion and intention, you collapse the wave of probability into a specific outcome. In simple terms, what you consistently focus on, especially with feeling, starts to shape the form of your life. You are not a machine trying to bend reality with effort. You are a transmitter, a lighthouse, constantly sending out signals. And the field, this elegant web of unseen intelligence, responds not just to your wishes, but to your dominant frequency. So what are you broadcasting? This is not about positive thinking. It's not about slapping affirmations over your pain like wallpaper over a broken wall. It's deeper. Quantum thinking means you must become intimate with your internal state. You must feel your thoughts, notice them, witness what you say to yourself in the quiet moments when no one is listening. Because your energy does not lie. You can visualize the perfect life, chant mantras until your voice goes hoarse, but if your core frequency is still coded in lack, fear, or unworthiness, the field will reflect that. Not to punish you, but to show you what still lives in the basement of your being. This is why people say they tried manifesting and it didn't work. But manifestation is not a vending machine. You don't press a button and wait. You become the version of yourself who naturally lives that reality. That's the quantum shift, not in outer action, but in identity. Let's ground this in a metaphor. Think of the quantum field as a giant jukebox with every possible song already loaded inside. Joy, abundance, love, despair, scarcity. Each is a track waiting to be selected. But you don't choose with coins, you choose with coherence. The clearer your signal, the stronger the match. If you tune to shame, the field responds accordingly. If you align with worthiness, not just intellectually but emotionally, you cue a different track. The song of your life changes. And here's the magic. You don't need to know exactly how it will happen. That's the mind's addiction to control. Quantum thinking is not about micromanaging outcomes. It's about becoming energetically congruent with the version of you that already has what you seek. The field handles the rest. Can you allow yourself to imagine this? What if time isn't linear? What if your desired reality already exists in potential, and your job is to become the kind of person who can receive it? This is where science meets spirituality, not in contradiction, but in harmony. Your consciousness is not passive. It's a creative force. And when you begin to live from the inside out rather than the outside in, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop striving and start allowing. Quantum thinking asks, what would it feel like to live from the outcome rather than toward it? That feeling is not fantasy. It's fuel. It's what tells the field, yes, I am ready. I trust. I align. But first, you must stop outsourcing your power. Stop waiting for proof before you believe. The evidence comes after the embodiment, not before. So take a breath. What are you believing into existence right now? And more importantly, are you doing it consciously or by default? If the world outside is a mirror, what is it reflecting back to you? Not just in moments of beauty or success, but in moments of tension, disappointment, or delay. You see, the greatest illusion we've inherited is the belief that the external comes first, that we must fix our circumstances to feel different inside. But quantum thinking flips that illusion inside out. It reveals a hidden truth. Reality is responding to your perception, not the other way around. Let that settle for a moment. The way you see the world, your beliefs, emotions, assumptions, is not merely commentary. It's the code through which your life is written. And so we arrive at the inner world, the quiet, often neglected dimension where your true power lies. Not in control, but in clarity. Not in hustle, but in harmony. If the quantum field is a sea of infinite potential, your perception is the net you cast into it. What you expect, you tend to find. What you emotionally believe to be true becomes the filter through which you live. Let's bring this closer to home. Think of two people walking into the same job interview. One carries a deep sense of lack. I'm not good enough. They won't want me. I always mess these things up. The other walks in with quiet certainty. I'm here to offer value. I trust in my path. What's mine will find me. Which one do you think communicates better, even without trying? Which one do you think the interviewer feels more drawn to? Same event, different frequency. Radically different outcomes. It's not about faking confidence or pretending. It's about realigning your inner lens, because your life cannot exceed the limits of your self-perception. The world bends to what you believe you are worthy of receiving. So ask yourself gently, where in my life am I still filtering through fear? Where am I reacting instead of responding? Where have I mistaken past evidence for permanent truth? We often assume that what happened before will keep happening. I always attract the wrong people. Money is hard to come by. Things never work out for me. But these aren't facts. They're feedback loops. The more you believe them, the more you feed them. And the field, being unbiased and responsive, simply says, as you wish. But here's the miracle. Those loops can be rewritten. Because your perception is not fixed. Your identity is not concrete. It's a choice, repeated over and over until it becomes a state. And once you shift that state, the signals you emit begin to change. Subtly at first, but the world notices. People treat you differently. Synchronicities arise. The right ideas come, not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you finally stopped blocking the flow with doubt, guilt, and resistance. This is where quantum thinking becomes not just a concept, but a lived practice. It asks, what story are you telling yourself about who you are? Are you still carrying an identity formed in survival? Are you still defining yourself by your worst day, your biggest regret, or the labels someone else gave you? Because the quantum field doesn't care about your past. It cares about your now. The present moment is the only place creation happens. When you shift your perception, when you let go of the old narrative, you create space for the new reality to emerge. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or deny your pain. On the contrary, it means you honor them, feel them, transmute them. Every emotion carries energy. When you suppress it, it stagnates. When you feel it with awareness, it moves. And in that movement, clarity returns. So next time you're triggered or stuck, don't ask, how do I fix this? Ask, what is this showing me about how I see myself? That one question, when asked sincerely, can open doors you didn't know were there. Imagine living from the inside out. Not waiting for the world to change before you feel worthy, but feeling worthy now and watching how the world begins to reflect it. That's not magic, that's alignment. It starts with a willingness to see differently, to believe differently, and then slowly but surely to be differently. Because once you reclaim your inner world, your outer world begins to rearrange itself around the new frequency you emit, not as a reward, but as a reflection. So, what happens when you begin to live this way? Not just as a theory, but as a daily practice. What happens when you start aligning your internal state with the reality you want before any sign of it appears? That's when the shift becomes embodied. That's when quantum thinking moves from philosophy into the rhythm of your breath, your choices, your presence. To live in alignment is not to live perfectly. It's to live consciously. It means you no longer allow the noise of the world to dictate your direction. You stop asking for permission to feel good. You don't wait for circumstances to prove your worth. You decide, again and again, who you are and let your life rise to meet that decision. There's an elegance in this way of being, a simplicity. You wake up and ask, what energy am I bringing into today? Not as a performance, but as a remembering. You take responsibility, not in the heavy, guilt-laden way we've been taught, but in the liberating way. You realize that your energy, your thoughts, your presence, they matter. They ripple. And so you begin to treat your mind like sacred ground. You question the thoughts that once ran wild. You soften the inner critic that once kept you small. You replace what if I fail with what if I fly. You begin to feel your way into the day, noticing what feels expansive and what contracts your spirit. These small, subtle shifts, done consistently, change your trajectory. Let's make it real. Think of a woman who's always struggled with relationships. She's been cheated on, abandoned, used. She says all men are the same. But one day, something cracks open in her. She realizes it's not just about them. It's about the part of her that believed love must come with pain. She starts doing the inner work, not just journaling or reading, but embodying. She learns to sit with loneliness, not escape it. She practices feeling loved without needing someone else to say it. And as she changes, her choices change, her energy shifts, and suddenly the kind of man she once attracted no longer resonates. And someone new enters, a match for her new frequency. This is quantum alignment in motion. It doesn't require drama. It doesn't demand you uproot your life overnight. It begins with presence, with feeling your way into your future by becoming the person who already lives it. You want abundance? Start noticing where you feel lack. Not to judge it, but to bring light to it. Where do you say, I can't afford that, even casually? Where do you feel anxious every time you pay a bill? Begin there, feel it. Then ask, what would someone who trusts in provision do right now? Not recklessly, but faithfully. Start building that bridge of being. One thought, one emotion, one decision at a time. And yes, it takes courage, because it's easier to play the victim, easier to say, I'll believe it when I see it. But quantum thinking flips that script. You'll see it when you believe it. And believing, at this level, is not just a mental statement, it's a full-body vibration. Living in alignment means living as if your future is already real, because in the quantum field, it is. Time is not what we think. The version of you who has already healed, who is already thriving, who already feels free, that version exists. Your job is not to create them from scratch, but to tune in, like a radio receiver. Change the dial, and you change the station. Change your state, and you change what you receive. So how do you practice this? Start small. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Make this moment the portal. Wake up and ask, what energy would I embody today if I already had the life I desire? Then bring that into your interactions, your choices, your posture, your self-talk. It's not about pretending, it's about becoming. There's power in every breath, in every pause before reaction, in every moment you choose awareness over autopilot. And those choices, they compound, they build momentum. The field notices. Because creation responds to the consistent signal, not the occasional wish. So ask yourself, what version of me am I practicing today? And is that version aligned with the life I say I want? You don't have to know the whole path. You just have to walk in resonance. Life meets you where you are, energetically. And now we arrive at the quiet edge of the unknown, the place where control fades and trust must rise. This is where the rational mind trembles and the heart whispers, you're safe to let go. Because the final step in quantum thinking is not mastery, it is surrender. Not the passive kind, not resignation, but the deepest kind of surrender, trusting the invisible path. Trusting that what you have aligned with will find you in ways your mind cannot script. It's a paradox. To create powerfully, you must be willing to release control. To trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and that what misses you was never truly yours. You've done the inner work. You've felt your emotions. You've shifted your thoughts. You've lived into your desired state. But still, something hasn't arrived yet. That's the moment when many give up. They think, it's not working. But in truth, it's working perfectly. The field is aligning things behind the scenes, removing what no longer fits, rearranging your timeline, preparing you for what's next. And all it asks in return is one thing: hold your frequency. This is the final act of quantum creation, becoming the field. Not just sending energy out, but becoming one with the intelligence that shapes all things. You're no longer just asking for a new life. You're embodying the consciousness that already lives it. And with that embodiment comes a calm certainty. Not a guarantee of outcomes, but a knowing that no matter what appears or doesn't appear, you are whole, you are aligned, and that is more than enough. This kind of trust isn't naive. It's revolutionary, because in a world addicted to proof, you're choosing inner coherence. In a culture obsessed with hustle, you're choosing energetic alignment. You're no longer grabbing at the future, you're magnetizing it. And yes, sometimes this path will stretch you. It will test the part of you that still wants to hustle for your worth. It will challenge the voice that says, you must struggle to deserve. But let that voice fall away. Let it be replaced by something softer, truer. I am already worthy. I am already whole. I am already connected. Can you feel the difference? When you let go of chasing, your nervous system settles. Your presence deepens. You start to notice the beauty in the ordinary, the signs along the way. Life becomes less about getting there and more about being here, fully, joyfully, trustingly. Because this moment is not a stepping stone. It's the destination. The vibration you hold now is your point of creation. So make it sacred, make it intentional, celebrate it, even if the evidence hasn't arrived yet. That's the ultimate test of faith. Can you rejoice in the unseen, simply because you know? And when doubt arises, as it will, you meet it with compassion. You don't shame yourself, you don't spiral, you breathe, you return to the practice, you reconnect to the version of you who already is. This is how you become unshakable, not by force, but by frequency. Not by controlling life, but by communing with it. Becoming one with the quantum field means you are no longer separate from your desires. You are no longer wishing for the future. You are the future, pulled into now. So pause, dear reader. Feel that. Feel how far you've come, not in miles, but in awareness. Not in achievement, but in alignment. You've shattered the illusion of powerlessness. You've glimpsed the quantum nature of thought. You've reclaimed your perception. You've learned to live in alignment. And now you're stepping into surrender, not as a loss, but as a gateway. Let this be your new question. If I already trusted the process completely, how would I move, speak, feel, act? Then live your answer. Not once, not in bursts, but as a practice, as a rhythm, as a way of being. This is quantum thinking. This is conscious creation. This is the return to your true self. You were never meant to live on autopilot. You were meant to wake up, to remember that the universe doesn't hand you reality like a fixed script. It hands you raw potential, waiting for the signal of your inner world to shape it. Every thought, every feeling, every quiet intention, each one is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Quantum thinking is not about control. It's about coherence. It's about becoming so aligned, so trusting, so embodied in your desired reality that the outer world simply reflects what already lives inside you. And that journey begins now, not with perfect knowledge, but with one simple choice: to see yourself as a conscious creator. So as you close this chapter, ask yourself, what reality am I ready to stop chasing and start living? If this message stirred something in you, let it grow. Reflect on it, share it, live it. And if you found resonance in these words, I invite you to join the conversation. Leave a comment, share your insights, subscribe for more awakening journeys like this. Your energy matters here. You are the field, you are the signal, you are the shift. Welcome home.